Hello everyone, very good morning. How are you guys today? Am I clearly audible and visible to everyone watching me live? Assuming yes, एक बार जल्दी से tech check कर लेते हैं. If I'm clearly audible and visible, we're going to be commencing with our second session on the editorial drill. जो भी technical glitch था last class में वो हमने fix कर दिया है and अब issues नहीं आने चाहिए with our session today. Hopefully, yes. How are you today? Have you been reading articles? जल्दी से हाई भेज दो एक बार मुझे टेक चेक करने दो that I'm clearly audible and visible to everyone. आज क्या करेंगे सेशन में? तो एजेंडा यही होता है कि हम एडिटोरियल ड्रिल एवरी ऑल्टरनेट डे लेके आते हैं एंड विद द एडिटोरियल ड्रिल we pick up articles from those sources like Guardian, New York Times, Aeon, Project Syndicate, AL Daily और बहुत सारे ऐसे वेबसाइट्स या जर्नल्स जहां से cat fondly picks up articles from and they are converted into uh, a reading comprehension. ठीक है, तो हाय जैक एक बार जल्दी से बता दो ऑडिबल विजिबल है ना, सब अच्छे से ऑडिबल है ना, आवाज मेरी क्लियर है? ठीक है, तो उनसे हम आर्टिकल्स देखेंगे. आज हम जो आर्टिकल लेके आए हैं वो सोसाइटी पे बेस्ड है, सोशियोलॉजी पे बेस्ड है, इकोनॉमिक्स पे बेस्ड है. इट्स अ मिक्सचर ऑफ सोसाइटी प्लस इकोनॉमिक्स और दोनों ही जॉनरेज वेरी फ्रीक्वेंटली आर आस्क्ड अंडर कैट, बहुत फ्रीक्वेंटली आते हैं. हम क्यों ये डिफरेंट जॉनरेज लेके आते हैं? लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट फर्स्ट. We bring these genres so that we get accustomed to these common topics on which passages may come up in the exam. We get accustomed to these jargons. Jargons क्या होते हैं? टेक्निकल वर्ड्स होते हैं. तो हम इन टेक्निकल वर्ड्स से कंफर्टेबल हो जाएं, क्योंकि अगर आपने मान लीजिए सोशियोलॉजी नहीं पढ़ी है तो बहुत सारे ऐसे टेक्निकल टर्म्स है जो यूज हो सकते हैं, कॉमन उनके लिए होंगे, बट शायद मैं अवेयर नहीं होंगी और वो मेरे लिए एक स्पीड ब्रेकर हो सकते हैं, मेरे कॉम्प्रिहेंशन में भी एक डेटरेंट हो सकते हैं. सेम गोज विथ इकोनॉमिक्स. इफ यू नॉट स्टडीड इकोनॉमिक्स, बेसिक जार्गन से जो यूज हो सकते हैं इकोनॉमी बेस्ड पैसेज में, बट मैं उसके साथ अनकंफर्टेबल हूं क्योंकि मैंने नहीं पढ़ा. सो ये सारे जॉनरेज में कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे टेक्निकल वर्ड्स होते हैं, जार्गन्स होते हैं जो उसी स्पेसिफिक साइंस को बिलोंग करते हैं. एंड the idea is that we get comfortable with these style of writing, these genres and these technical jargons that are used. Okay, so today's article is going to be from the Guardian again like the last time, and it's based on society and economics. I'm going to be launching my Telegram channel today and I'll be sharing the link with you either by the end of the day or tomorrow. What I'll do is the article that I bought, मैंने इसमें आपको जो vocabulary है, जो difficult words है, I will teach you the meaning of the words. And by the end of the slide, I have all of these words jotted down in 2 slides. You can take a screenshot. Telegram group में I'll send you questions on these words. So in questions को practice कर लेना so that आपके लिए इन words का revision हो जाएगा. Once you learn it with me in the class, you know the context. You have a screenshot, उसको memorize करके उन questions को attempt कर लेना. Once you attempt those questions, वो revise हो जाएगा आपका vocabulary. You don't have to put in a lot of effort from finding vocabulary from multiple sources. तो मैं ये link आपको by the end of the day आज share कर दूंगी. Okay? Good morning विशाल. तो क्या एजेंडा होगा जल्दी से देख लेते हैं. हम आर्टिकल्स डिस्कस करेंगे कॉमन कैट जॉनरेज से. आज है सोसाइटी एंड इकोनॉमी और सोर्स है हमारा द गार्डियन. रीडिंग टेक्निक सीखेंगे, एक एक पैराग्राफ को ब्रेक करेंगे. आफ्टर एवरी पैराग्राफ वी विल pause. Why will we pause after every paragraph? We will think, what is the paragraph about? What is it talking about? After every paragraph, हम उसको pause करके समझेंगे. वो हमको एक माइंड मैप या फिर स्ट्रक्चर बनाने में हेल्प करेगा. सो विल मेक अ स्ट्रक्चर, अ माइंड मैप, जो मैं आपको क्लास के एंड में दूंगी. द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द होल पैसेज. वी विल सी इफ यू कैन रिलेट टू इट. vocabulary हम hand to hand निकालने की कोशिश करेंगे, plus I'll give it to you by the end of the class as well. And then we have question solving और एक surprise element आज की क्लास में. Last question is a homework to you. इसका आंसर आप मुझे कमेंट सेक्शन में बताएंगे, ठीक है? Not in the chat but in the comment section. तो स्टार्ट करते हैं. Just a minute. आज का आर्टिकल, let me show you that on the first slide. Here's the first slide. I will not tell you the topic of the article, the headline of the article, because actual exam में भी वो नहीं आएगा. Read the whole page. Understand this, pause after each paragraph, the two are given here, and send me a done in the chat box once you're done. Let me ask you a question, okay? How will you define an old society? How will you define that? What is actually an old society? I'm talking of teaching an old society new tricks. How do you define an old society? क्या होती है old society? Old thoughts, old habits, a society that has thoughts that have been embedded long back in their heads and they're still following those thoughts. They have habits embedded in their head long time back and they've been following the same habits over decades and decades, right? That could be an old society. And we're talking of teaching this old society a new trick. And there's a question, can we actually do that? Most of the times when you have a question in the beginning of the passage, the answer will be explained. It will be discussed. Either the answer clearly will be given or an analysis of the answer may be done. हाँ हम सिखा सकते हैं, नहीं हम नहीं सिखा सकते, दोनों में से कोई भी आंसर हो सकता है as per the paragraph, या फिर ऑथर एनालिसिस करता है कि लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड क्या हम सिखा सकते हैं या नहीं सिखा सकते. These are the pointers. But very likely if there's a question in the beginning of the passage, the question is posed to evoke an emotion in your head, to force you to think harder. Are we in an old society? Should we be learning new tricks? That's the purpose of this question. Okay, let's continue reading the paragraph. We're often told that people are voting with their feet and their wallets. How can somebody vote with their feet? How can somebody vote with their wallets? When I have to go and cast my vote, as per the author, most of the people that cast vote either cast it with their feet or with their wallets. When somebody casts a vote with their wallet, a person will decide which party to vote to depending upon how much monetary benefit one will get. Economically कौन सी पार्टी उसके लिए वायबल होगी, जो फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर ए पार्टी ने मुझे बोला मैं आपका टैक्सेशन कम कर दूंगा तो आई विल बी द हैप्पीएस्ट, मैं 30% टैक्स पे करती हूँ गवर्नमेंट को, अगर वो कट के 10% हो जाएगा मैं आपको वोट करूंगी. मैं मेरा हार्ड अर्न मनी क्यों टैक्स में दूं इतना? द कंडीशन ऑफ द रोड्स आर बैड। तो मैं अपने वॉलेट से वोट कर रही हूँ इस केस में। इफ आई एम वोटिंग विथ माई फीट, व्हाट आई एम डूइंग इज, if a party that I had voted for last time in the last elections, for example, I had voted for party A. If I had voted for a party last time, and the party did not benefit me as per my understanding, I will leave it. I'll just walk out. Walking out of a place. अगर मुझे लग रहा है कि यशराज की मूवीज इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं है तो मैं यशराज की मूवीज देखना बंद कर दूंगी. I'll walk out. अगर मुझे लग रहा है ये पार्टी मेरे बेनिफिट में नहीं है, I'll walk out. मैं उसको वोट नहीं करूंगी कभी भी. That's voting with their feet. Okay, so often people vote either with their feet or their wallets for the world as it is. But people are not voting. वो वोट नहीं कर रहे हैं. वो क्या कर रहे हैं? They're playing a game. तो उसने क्या किया? ऑथर ने वोटिंग को सिनोनिमस माना है एक गेम के साथ. How is voting synonymous to a game? This is a game of dice of day-to-day decision making and are hugely loaded, reinforcing the carbon atrophied economic structures around us. What is atrophied? Basically rendering something useless or wasteful. These economic structures that waste a lot of carbon. Are these structures creating more pollution? Answer this. If I call an economic structure carbon atrophied, atrophied is wastefulness or making something not used appropriately. Can I say these economic structures are wasting carbon and thus leading to pollution? Answer this question. Are they leading to pollution? Think hard. Then I'll explain what the game is and why it's a game of dice. Dice roll करते हैं, जो नंबर आता है उस पे डिपेंडेंट है आपका डिसीजन. बट ये डिसीजन किस पे लोडेड है? ये डिसीजन लोडेड है a lot of wastefulness of carbon. Exactly, yes. बहुत सारा pollution create करना, carbon emission करना. So voting is just like a game of dice. आप decisions तो ले रहे हैं, but ये सारे decisions एक ऐसे इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर पे डिपेंडेंट है where you wasting a lot of carbon and thus you creating pollution that way. Okay, when I'm asking you questions in between a paragraph like this, what I am forcing you to do is I'm forcing you to process a line and infer meanings the line may hold hidden. These lines may bring out inferential questions. If a sentence says carbon atrophied economic structures, it automatically means these structures emit a lot of carbon and thus create pollution. ये हमने infer किया, ये हमने reading between the lines किया. तो जब मैं आपसे questions पूछती हूँ, मैं यही thought process initiate करने की कोशिश करती हूँ और आपको यही thought process apply करना है in the passages that you are reading. सोचो, अगर ये बोल रहा है तो इसका क्या मतलब हो सकता है? ठीक है? ओके, सो अब यहां ना इस पैराग्राफ में ऑथर ने क्या किया है? एक तरीके से क्रिटिसिज्म है टू वोटर्स. ओके, सो आई विल राइट दैट क्रिटिसिज्म टू, अरे भाई, VOTERS, ठीक है. हैबिट्स ऑफ ओवर कंजम्पशन. मुझे एक गाड़ी में काम चल जाएगा, बट मुझे शौक है गाड़ियों का, मैं 4 लेके रख लूंगी. ओवर कंजम्पशन that push our excessive carbon emission run deep. This is a habit that I have. Over consumption. This is just an example. मैं बहुत सारा परचेज करूंगी of whatever I need, more than necessary. Be it cars, be it grocery, be it clothes. It's over consumption, and over consumption will lead automatically to excessive carbon emission, and it runs deep into our society and our habits. They are locked into our subsidized car biased transport system. गाड़ी लेके चलते हैं, स्कूटर से काम हो सकता है, गाड़ी लेके चलेंगे. ठीक है, चीपर ट्रांसपोर्ट है रेल, बट मैं 12 घंटे की ड्राइव करके अपनी गाड़ी लेके जाऊंगी. ओनली अलोन, सिंगल हैंड ड्राइविंग. It is excessive carbon emission. These are examples. Okay, car biased transport system, चीप फ्लाइट हॉलीडे कल्चर, एक लोकेशन पे ट्रेन भी जा रही है, फ्लाइट भी जा रही है, बट फ्लाइट की कॉस्ट चीपर है तो मैं फ्लाइट ही लूंगी ना, कम टाइम में कम कॉस्ट पे पहुंच जाएंगे। मैं क्यों सोचूंगी कि ट्रेन मेरा कार्बन एमिशन को रोकेगा। दीज आर एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ ओवर कंजम्पशन leading to excessive carbon emission. So first example is car-based transport system, cheap flight holiday culture, and numbing complexity that confronts us if we want to give our homes a green makeover. If I want my home to actually be greener does not mean कि बहुत plants लग गए. Green means मेरे घर से carbon emission कम हो, AC कम चले, फ्रिज का यूजेज कम हो, ठीक है, तो दिस इज अ ग्रीनर हाउस। इफ आई वांट टू मेक वन, इतनी कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है ऐसा घर बनाने में कि इवेंचुअली मैं सोचूं कि भाई 4 AC लगा लो, कौन करेगा इतना हैसल एक ग्रीन हाउस बनाने के लिए। So it's a lot chaotic in the society. Even if I want to do something good, the habits and the society does not allow me to. More fundamentally, we live in a culture that defines us first and foremost as material consumers. So we are very fondly called as material consumers. हम कंज्यूमर हैं। ये वर्ड आपने बहुत बार सुना होगा ना, कंज्यूमर्स को टारगेट करो, ये कंज्यूमर्स के लिए है। अब कंज्यूमर का काम क्या है? कंज्यूम करना। अब हम ओवर कंज्यूम भी कर सकते हैं तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो उससे हैप्पी होंगी, है ना। मैं ज्यादा गाड़ियां खरीदूंगी, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस विल बी हैप्पी अबाउट इट, यस, बाय सेल्स आर बीइंग हाई। सो आइडियली इन दिस सोसाइटी, इन दिस इकोनॉमी, वी आर जस्ट material consumers. We're not people who should look up to preserving the environment, the economy. We're just consumers, and that's the problem here. So when the author brings out this phrase that we are defined as material consumers, it's a problematic situation. All right, understood? चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं। ठीक है, pause after every paragraph, break the paragraph into fragments, think what the author is saying, author stance, what is he trying to do in the paragraph, and then send me done after you're done with the 3 paragraphs here. I'll move a little so that you can see the paragraph. Done. ठीक है. Answer these questions. Is the author bringing out three important aspects: physical, economic, and cultural infrastructure here in this page? Yes or no? I'll repeat my question. Is the author bringing out three important aspects related to carbon emissions as physical, cultural, and economic infrastructure that is binding us and stopping us from acting towards lesser carbon emission? Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. The first paragraph here explains how we actually cannot do a lot of things as consumers because we are surrounded by three things: physical, okay, this is physical, we have economic, and we have cultural infrastructure. We are surrounded with these three things, and these three things actually give us very little room for maneuvering. Maneuvering is यहाँ से वहां, मैं यहाँ बाहर निकल सकती हूँ चेंज करके, सड़क के एक साइड से निकल के कैन आई गो आउट. बहुत कम स्कोप है एज अ कंज्यूमर फॉर मी to work towards carbon emission because of these three important parameters surrounding me. This paragraph explains the physical infrastructure. This paragraph explains the economic infrastructure. Very likely the next one should explain a cultural infrastructure as well. Very logically arranged the paragraphs are. Making the structure should not be a problem for you. So if I make a structure of this page, it's very simple. The three elements that surround us and defining each of the three elements, explaining how do they surround us, leaving us with lesser room to maneuver carbon emission or avoid carbon emission. Let's understand how a physical infrastructure stops us. Decisions to go ahead with new large centralized coal nuclear power stations lock in huge energy inefficiencies that the individual can do little to effect. There are huge, अच्छा मैं आपको एक example देती हूँ, ठीक है? If you've traveled to Himachal or if you're somebody who's watching this video from Himachal, एक example दे रही हूँ, ये across the country होता है, but मैं आपको हिमाचल का example दे रही हूँ. तीस्ता रिवर है हिमाचल में, इट फ्लोज और वो अपना नेचुरल कोर्स लेके फ्लो करती है, ठीक है. उस नेचुरल कोर्स को ब्लास्ट्स के साथ में मैनोवर किया जाता है, उस नेचुरल कोर्स को चेंज किया जाता है विथ ब्लास्ट्स सो दैट द वाटर फ्लोज मोर रैपिडली, generating more power. I as an individual can do anything to stop that? No. This is an example of a physical infrastructure and the decisions of creating these huge centralized coal power stations, nuclear power stations, ठीक है, या hydro power stations. But hydro power stations क्या करते थे? They would create dams which would eventually again lead to more losses, okay, more destruction, or this blasting and changing the route of a river to create more energy. All of these are thus leading to these landslides and these cloud bursts that we've been witnessing in the hilly areas. I as an individual can't do a lot of things. So first example of physical infrastructure. Okay, let's look at the second example, economic infrastructure. The economically price signals don't work because they exclude climate cost. एक प्रोडक्ट अगर मैं 10 रुपीज का खरीद रही हूं, मुझे ये नहीं पता है कि उस प्रोडक्ट को बनाने से कितना कार्बन एमिशन हुआ, उस कार्बन एमिशन को रोकने के लिए और कितना पैसा खर्च होगा. दिस प्रोडक्ट प्राइस डज नॉट इंक्लूड दैट. दिस प्रोडक्ट प्राइस only and only includes the production cost and a bit of profit. It does not include what impact the creation of this product will have on the environment and what amount of money will be put in to control that impact. वो लैंडस्लाइड हुई, लैंडस्लाइड से रोड्स खराब हुई, उस रोड्स को बनाने के लिए क्या कॉस्ट है, ये इंक्लूड नहीं होगा. ओके, सो दैट इज इकोनॉमिक. एक एग्जांपल दिया है इस इकोनॉमिक सराउंडिंग को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए. नेटवर्क रेल हैड सेंट 200 of its workers for a meeting, but they did not send them through rail. They sent them through road because rail was more expensive. But rail was more efficient from the perspective of carbon emission. But see, such simple decisions, and we can't do anything here. Almost the whole of economic policy is geared towards growth and promoting energy intensive material consumption. So the entire economy is actually forcing you to buy things that is dependent on energy consumption. When you consume energy, more of carbon is emitted. But we can't do anything here. Culturally, now here we have culture as well, not the next paragraph, culture yahi mention ho gaya. Culturally, we are constantly, so we have physical हमने explain कर दिया, economic हमने explain कर दिया, cultural infrastructure कैसे हमें bound करता है, वो समझते हैं. Culturally, we are constantly and disproportionately prompted to behave primarily as self-absorbed consumers and only remotely as engaged, publicly minded citizens. Culture हमें क्या बताता है? आप कंज्यूमर हो, आप अपना सोचो. You don't have to think about the other citizens and the society and the economy and the environment as a whole. That's what culture tells you. And it tells you that a lot of times, which is pretty disproportionate here. Constantly keeps telling you that you are a consumer, think about your own consumption. Why do you worry about others? That's what culture tells us. The next paragraph should explain culture even furthermore. Let's look at that. Do the same exercise, read both the paragraphs, pause, think what the paragraphs are saying, okay? And you can write them down under bullet points as well. Send me a done when you're done. Chalo, first question. Do we as consumers actually have free choice? Yes or no? Do we as consumers in reality have any free choice? Hi Pawan. क्या हमारे पास एक्चुअली कोई फ्री चॉइस है अवेलेबल? The answer is no. ये इस पेज के सेकंड पैराग्राफ में एक्सप्लेन है how we actually do not have a free choice. Okay? If a flight ticket is cheaper than a train ticket, you have free choice. You can choose to go on a train. But will you do that because trains carbon emission is lower? You will not. You are bound psychologically to choose for a flight ticket because it is faster, it is cheaper. Car upgrades are subsidized. Why will I not take a car upgrade? Everybody would do that. It's not a free choice. If I had a free choice, I would have not taken an upgrade. बट अगर मेरे पास ये चॉइसेस दिए गए हैं कि आपके पास में सब्सिडाइज्ड कार अपग्रेड है, कोई क्यों नहीं लेगा? कोई क्यों फ्लाइट की टिकट नहीं लेगा? ओके, एयरपोर्ट एक्सपेंशन पे काम करती है गवर्नेंस. that the airport should be bigger and bigger. Why would I not go to an airport to catch a flight if it is seamless for me, if it is hassle free for me? Who is to blame here? We as citizens or governance? Answer this. Who is to blame here when consumers actually are not left with free choices? The second paragraph, who is the author trying to criticize? Who is at fault here? We or the governance? It is the governance, only and only governance, that is being criticized here. So the author is trying to explain that we as citizens cannot do anything. The previous page explained that. Little room to maneuver. आपको तीनों चीजें सराउंड करके बैठी हुई है, आप नहीं निकल सकते हो. यहाँ साइकोलॉजिकली भी वो एक्सप्लेन्ड है. हम सोचते हैं कि फ्री चॉइस है हमारे पास, बट एक्चुअली we do not have them. We're bound to do these. Okay? It is hardly surprising that many individuals are unmoved or at best confused. हम confused है कि हम चाहते तो है, we want the carbon emission to go down, but what can we do if the train tickets are so expensive? और तत्काल में कराओगे तो और एक्सपेंसिव हो जाएगी भाई, करोगे क्या? फ्लाइट ही कराओगे ना, उसी रेट की पड़ रही, तो सब घर में ये डिस्कशन होता है, फ्लाइट ही कर लेते हैं, क्यों जाना है ट्रेन से? It's only and only my mother who is adamant on taking a train, not because of the carbon emission but because of comfortability, because she finds a lot of hassle in boarding a flight and she gets scared with the whole sound that the aircraft emits. So most of us are unmoved and we are confused that even if you want to actually stop this kind of emission, what am I supposed to do? Okay, when exhorted to cut their emission, exhorted, urged, strongly urged करना किसी चीज को, URGE. Okay, so when as a citizen I'm asked, please cut down your carbon emission, I might be thinking, but how will I do it? आप मुझे बोलोगे एसी कम चलाओ, मैं एक ग्रीनर घर बनाना चाहती हूँ, बट उसके लिए सर्विसेज कहाँ अवेलेबल हैं और जो है वो इतनी एक्सपेंसिव हैं. Please subsidize them instead of subsidizing car upgrades. The governance is to be blamed here. Next page. Read the paragraph, break it down into a smaller fragment, understand the claim of the author here. Send me a done when you're done. Please answer this question that's given in the last line. What does this mean for our crisis of overconsumption and carbon emission? Relate the question to stereotype activations example that's given in the paragraph. Stereotype of being elderly. Stereotype पता है क्या होता है? स्टीरियोटाइप होता है एक ऐसा माइंड में अपने एक ऐसी पिक्चर बना लेना कि अगर एक वुमन है तो वो ऐसे ही बिहेव कर रही होगी, अगर एक मैन है तो वो ऐसे ही बिहेव कर रहा होगा। ये स्टीरियोटाइप है। लेकिन जरूरी नहीं है एक वुमन ऐसे ही बिहेव करे या एक मैन ऐसे ही बिहेव करे। यहाँ वो एल्डरली के साथ में, सीनियर सिटीजन के साथ में, कि अगर सीनियर सिटीजन है तो वो ऐसे ही बिहेव कर रहा होगा, दैट्स हाउ ही मस्ट बी बिहेविंग। बट दैट मे नॉट एक्चुअली बी ट्रू एवरी टाइम विद एवरी एल्डरली। You see, fit elderly, fitter than we are actually. So now answer this question in the last line. Okay, let me explain this to you. Take what psychologists call stereotype activation. Stereotype activation क्या होता है? If a child is constantly called stupid, gradually this child will start feeling stupid. A stereotyped belief is fed into the mind of a person. It is activated into the mind of a person, and the person gradually starts behaving in that manner. This group was constantly called with words related to elderly. वो words धीरे धीरे they started being visible in the behavior of the members of this group. They started walking slowly. Stereotype behavior जो होता है ना ओल्ड एज का, धीरे धीरे चलना, भूल जाना चीजें. It's a stereotype behavior of an elderly. When fed into their head constantly, they started feeling that way and behaving that way. आप बीमार हो, आप बीमार हो, आप बीमार हो, आपको बीमार फील होने लग जाएगा, आप बीमार की तरह बिहेव करने लग जाओगे, आप बेड पे पड़े रहोगे ऑल द टाइम. That's a stereotype activation. Here is the author relating stereotype activation to how we actually cannot do a lot for carbon emission. What does this mean for our crisis of overconsumption and carbon emission? Can we do, if I'm fed constantly that you cannot stop carbon emission, I will not stop carbon emission. If I'm constantly fed in my head that you can stop carbon emission, someday or the other I'll start taking actions for that. So the author here is giving you this example of this group which was called elderly, and they started behaving that way. तो अगर आपके पास वो चीजें सराउंड करती रहेंगी आपको, आप वैसा ही बिहेव करने लगोगे. You'll start thinking in the same manner. So he's associated the situation of overconsumption and carbon emission to stereotype activation. Okay, let's look at the next paragraph. Tell me done when you're done. Uh, do you know what satire means? What is it as per you? Because I've written that word, and before asking you a question, I want to know if you know what satire means. Kataksh in Hindi. But what does it mean in English? Do you understand that? Satire is a mockery, is making fun, but in a critical way, in a criticizing way. You are making fun of a problematic situation in the society, but in a humorous way. There are many movies that are made. For example, ओ माय गॉड मूवी देखी थी ना आपने, जो रिलीजन पे थी और पूजा पे थी, और कैसे वो मजाक मजाक में ही ना एक इशू को ब्रिंग आउट कर रहे थे, क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे थे, राइट? तो दैट इज व्हाट सटायर इज. इसी का एक दूसरा फॉर्म होता है सार्केज्म, बट सार्केज्म तो आप किसी को टॉन्ट करने के लिए भी बोल सकते हो, उसमें कोई सोशल इशू नहीं होता. इन सटायर वी यूजुअली ब्रिंग आउट सोशल इश्यूज दैट वी मॉक and make fun of. In a humorous way, you try to bring out that social issue. Is the second paragraph, are the three examples given in the second paragraph a form of satire? Yes or no? That's the question. Let me see if you can answer that. I'll repeat my question. Are the three forms of examples given here, are these forms of satire? क्या ये क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं, मजाक कर रहे हैं? Let's see if you got this. चलो मैं आपको समझाती हूँ कैसे ये क्रिटिसिज्म है कि नहीं, ये सटायर है कि नहीं, समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. रिसेंटली, अच्छा, इसके प्रीवियस पैराग्राफ में क्या लिखा हुआ था? स्टीरियोटाइप एक्टिवेशन. जैसा आपको बोला जाएगा कॉन्स्टेंटली आप वैसा बिहेव करने लग जाओगे, ठीक है? तो स्टीरियोटाइप एक्टिवेशन, स्टीरियोटाइप एक्टिवेशन यहां लिख लेते हैं हम. ओके. Recently, doing research to deliver a lecture, I counted two things during a normal working day. How many ads encouraged me to be a materialist and consumer? ये पेन खरीद लो, ये ग्लासेस खरीद लो, ये फोन खरीद लो, ये गाड़ी खरीद लो, ये घर खरीद लो. I'm a materialist and a consumer if I see these ads. These are targeting materialism and consumerism. The second, he wanted to record ads that actually urged people to take action on climate change. He could count 454 ads on materialism and consumerism and 3 public citizen messages. Okay, he wanted to actually count public spirited citizens and something that urges them. But these 3 examples, are they actually any one of these urging you to take action on climate change? Are they doing that, the 3 of these examples? क्या वो आपको अर्ज कर रहे हैं कि क्लाइमेट चेंज पे काम करो? पहला था एक मर्डर हो गया, आई विटनेसेस प्लीज सामने आइए. तो हाँ, ये पब्लिक सिटीजन के मैसेजेस तो थे, बट क्या वो क्लाइमेट चेंज की बात कर रहे थे? नहीं. सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल क्या था? ट्रेन कंपनी बोल रही है कि स्टाफ को अटैक मत करो. हाँ, पब्लिक को कैसे बिहेव करना चाहिए, पब्लिक सिटीजन को कैसे बिहेव करना चाहिए, उनको टारगेट कर रहा है, बट क्या वो क्लाइमेट चेंज को टारगेट कर रहा है? नो. The third pleading with motorists कि cyclists पे गाड़ी मत चला देना. It is targeting public citizens, but is that also targeting climate change? The answer is no. So when the author actually wanted to count the number of ads that urged people to take action on climate change, the answer was none. He could not find any ad targeting that. If I am not fed that in my mind, I will not do that. If I'm constantly fed materialism and consumerism, I will do that. If today I have an Alto, tomorrow I would want to buy a Nexon. If today I have a Nexon, tomorrow I would want to buy a Hector. This is a typical example of materialism and consumerism. I am not fed how I should be behaving in the society. I am not fed how I can control climate change. This is a form of satire to the society. कि तुम कर क्या रहे हो? तुम लोगों को बोल ही नहीं रहे हो कि क्लाइमेट को बचाओ. वो कैसे बचाएंगे? उनको फीड जो करोगे आप वही तो वो लोग करेंगे. That is it. These two paragraphs are explanation of stereotype activation and why people behave like consumers, because they are tagged like a consumer, they are branded like a consumer. Understood how this is a satire? Okay, next paragraph. Read this, break it down into fragments and send me a done. Done? Take a 1 minute. Okay, before I proceed explaining the paragraph to you, did you hit the like button? Please do that if you haven't done that yet. If you're watching it recorded, ensure that you comment under my video with a thank you note. And I have a free session happening for you today at 4 p.m. I'll write that down. 4 p.m. on our app, Unacademy's app, where I'll be discussing how to get para summary questions correct. What is that heart of passage? That is the summary. How are you supposed to get that correct? Okay, so ensure that you attend that session live. Okay, ये discuss करते हैं passage. Just a minute. Okay, yeah. For individuals to change, we somehow have to change the physical, economic and cultural. अब देखो author ने ना अभी 3-4 pages पहले he spoke of how these things stop us. He tried to explain all of the three things and psychology as well, how they stopped us. And now, sorry, I'm sorry. And now the author comes back to these points that if you now want individuals to behave differently and work towards climate change, please change the physical, economic, and cultural circumstances. If you change them, they will stop surrounding us, and we as an individual will find a way out to improve the climate that we're living in. In economics, it means taxing more. This paragraph is explaining how you can change these three elements. In economic, you can tax more of what we want less of, carbon emission, and less what we want more of. That is everything that will go into greening. That is, line का मतलब क्या है? If anything improves the environment, makes the environment greener, put lesser taxes on that. If anything makes the environment dirty, full of carbon emission, tax more of it. Okay? उस पे ज्यादा टैक्स लगाओ. जैसे अभी एक रिसेंट आपने देखा होगा वर्डिक्ट आया है कि कैसे दिल्ली में 10 ईयर से ज्यादा पुराने डीजल व्हीकल्स और 15 से ज्यादा पुराने पेट्रोल व्हीकल्स को अब फ्यूल ही नहीं दिया जाएगा क्योंकि वो कार्बन एमिशन बढ़ा देते हैं. ठीक है, ये एक तरीका है उस पर टैक्सेशन बढ़ाने का. सो इकोनॉमिकली दैट्स व्हाट यू कैन डू. ओके, एंड कॉन्ट्ररी टू द रिटोरिक ऑफ नेसेसरी कट्स, बार बार एक ही बात पूछी जा रही है यूजलेसली कि ये तो नेसेसरी है, यहां पे आपका टैक्स काटना जरूरी है. एक्चुअली ये रिटोरिक है क्वेश्चन. ये कट नेसेसरी नहीं है. ये टैक्स काटना लोगों के लिए जरूरी नहीं है. गवर्नमेंट हैज टू स्पेंड मोर, नॉट पीपल. गवर्नमेंट कम स्पेंड करेगी, गवर्नमेंट ने पैसा लगाना छोड़ दिया है इस एरिया में बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट के पास पैसा नहीं है. It's just a rhetoric question. It's a useless one, has no meaning here, no impact here. The government has to spend more. It is urging the government to do that. This paragraph, read that and then send me a none. Yes, ban as well. यहां कट्स का मतलब क्या है? गवर्नमेंट पैसा नहीं खर्च करेगी. ओके, रिमेंबर दैट. In the last paragraph, there was a line saying the government has to spend more, not less. Relate these two paragraphs to that. Okay, let me explain this to you. The last paragraph's last line said the government has to spend more, not less. And there is proof why the government has to spend more. Government at the time of recession may be saying, no, we can't spend a lot. There is recession going on. But even during recession, the government has to spend more. History is the proof of that. How? Basic economics tells us that productive, targeted public spending that is spending on public, if it is targeted, if it is productive, in long run, you will get the return for it. The stimulus creates a multiplier effect and returns cash to the exchequer. Exchequer कौन है जो spend कर रहा है governance के form में यहाँ पे, ठीक है? So exchequer is the government here. If the government spends the money at the time of recession on public in a way that is productive and targeted, it will create a multiplier effect and the money eventually will come back to the exchequer, because this spending of money during the time of recession will save jobs, it will generate employment, or after employment, these employees will be paying back the taxes to you. So in the time of recession, the government should not spend less. They should be spending more. History is the proof of it. The care must be put that it is precisely by spending on real Green New Deal that the public debt can be reduced in the medium to long term. So if you want that the citizens act towards protecting the environment, the government protects the environment, you have to spend money on that. Not less, but more. New low-cost credit lines to pay for new efficient low-energy infrastructure could be created, but money is already there, being wasted on other things. Why don't you put this money on creating low-cost credit lines, new efficient low-cost infrastructure that has lesser carbon emission, is more green, is more environment friendly? Money is just being wasted somewhere else. Again, a criticism to the government. And I think this is our second last paragraph. Yeah. Oh, last paragraph. Okay, last page. Read this and we'll come to the closure of the passage. Hi, Anushika. We're almost about to finish our passage though, but koi baat nahi, stick with me. We have some question answers to do. And you'll know what we do every day at 10. Every alternate day at 10. Send me done when you're done. Okay, let's discuss. History tells us that social norms can be changed quickly and positively in extreme circumstances, but that it requires comprehensive action from below and above. So now the passage is coming towards an end, and he's telling you if you want to change social norms, old society teaching new tricks. If you want to change our old mindset, the pressure has to come from below and above. Above for governance, below from us. दोनों side से. To do that, we'll have to tackle the relentless conditioning that activates the default stereotype कि हम तो consumers हैं. Use किया था ये word? So we have to change our mindset of a stereotype behavior. We have to change our old habits and learn new tricks. This old society can learn new tricks. Of everyone being principally materialistic consumers, we have to change this mindset. And the government also has to work for that. We could begin perhaps by following the footsteps of parts of Maine in US and Sao Paulo in Brazil, where billboard advertising, this is an example of how change can be bought. New tricks can be taught. They had put up billboards they had banned visual boards for reducing visual pollution. Okay, billboards ko ban kar diya tha. So for a calmer environment, we can start with something like that. And this is a beautiful paragraph. It says, and in the meantime, jab tak hum apna mindset change karte hain, we will probably have to assume the environmental brace position. What is brace position? Environmental brace position. आपने phrase सुना होगा, brace yourself, seat belts on, we're about to take off. है ना? So brace position होती है पकड़ के बैठ जाओ, मेरे ride start होने वाली है. तो ये environment की brace position है. Ready हो जाओ, seat belts on, क्योंकि Christmas आने ही वाला है और Christmas is an example of a party of materialism. Santa Claus gifts लेके आएंगे, हम एक दूसरे को gifts देंगे, we will go vacations and shop and party. Christmas is a party of materialism. It's about to start. Your seatbelts should be on. With seatbelts, environmental. So, if Santa could actually fill his bag not with materialistic gifts but with solar panels, wind turbines, insulation, we actually might get a new role model. कि Santa Claus जैसा बनो. Okay, so that's the closure of the passage we have. Let's come to the structure of it and then question answer. The structure of the passage. It started with the illusion of choice. हमारे पास कोई choice है ही नहीं actually. It's only an illusion that we have free choice. We don't have any. Okay. Deep diagnosis of the problem, the carbon lock-in. He's pointing out each of the pointers. How the problem is inbred, going very, very deep. Psychology and behavior की वो बात करते हैं. Saying free will is just a myth. There is no free will. Solution pathway क्या है? He's suggesting what can be done. Full overhaul, फिर Santa Claus का example देते हैं, Christmas का example देते हैं, क्या क्या आप कर सकते हो. Cultural shift and role models. How culture can be changed and how role models like Santa can be brought in. That's the structure of the passage we just read. Let's come to the vocabulary page. थोड़ा छोटा है but screenshot ले लो फिर zoom कर लेना इसको. Okay? Let me see if रुको मैं अपना ना एक बार image hide कर देती हूँ video capture. I'm right here. इसका screenshot ले लो एक बार. Then I'll reappear magically. Okay. इसको zoom करके पढ़ लेना. Okay. मैंने सबका contextual meaning डाल दिया है. जैसे सब्सिडाइज तो है बट उसका कॉन्टेक्चुअली क्या मीनिंग है, ये सारे वो इकोनॉमी या सोसाइटी रिलेटेड वर्ड्स हैं जो जार्गन्स है जो आपको पता होने चाहिए. ओके, सो गो थ्रू ईच वन ऑफ इट. अल्फा मैम बीइंग विजिबल अगेन. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड करते हैं. 2 स्लाइड्स हैं वोकैबुलरी का. ओके, अल्फा मैम गोइंग डिसअपियरिंग अगेन. स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो इसका भी एक. Okay, today at 4 p.m. when I have the free class, the special class on our app, I'll be sharing the QR code for my Telegram channel. Okay, तो Telegram channel join कर लेना वहां से. इन्हीं words पे मैं आपको questions बना के दूंगी. Oh wait, I've been talking without my camera on. 1 minute. So इन्हीं words पे मैं आपको questions बना के दूंगी in the Telegram channel. Ensure that you join that Telegram channel and we'll be discussing. मैं ये article भी वहां share कर दूंगी for people who did not watch it live. Question answer भी share कर दूंगी and I'll be sharing the new questions on these vocabulary words. So watch me live 4 p.m. on our app. Don't miss out on the session. Okay? और आगे चलते हैं हम question number 1 पे. What, my students, do you think should be the correct answer? Central theme the author conveys in the passage. One second, something is stuck. अरे भाई, one second guys. This is fine. आप आंसर करो क्वेश्चन को. अयो I was trying to erase what was written, but you are lucky. आपको आंसर दिख गया. अच्छा, अग्री करते हो कि सी के साथ? चलो ये बता दो. हाँ, तो विशाल है सेंड मी द आंसर. एवरीवन, डू यू अग्री विथ सी? क्या बोल रहा है सी? डीप रूटेड फिजिकल, इकोनॉमिक एंड कल्चरल. ऑथर ने अक्रॉस द पैसेज पहले इसको पॉइंट आउट किया है, हाउ दीज थिंग्स स्टॉप अस, हाउ वी कैन कंट्रोल इट, एक्सप्लेनिंग एवरी बिट ऑफ इट. They lock the society into high carbon consumption and we can't do anything, and only structural systematic changes can enable us in real progress. The correct answer is C. एक बार A, B और D eliminate कर लेते हैं. The key to solving climate crisis lies in accelerating technological innovation. Technological innovation की बात ही नहीं कर रहा है, वो तो कह रहा है problem is physical, economic and cultural. It's not technological innovation. Individuals fail to make meaningful climate actions primarily due to lack of motivation and psychological preparedness. But this is not primary. It is these 3 things that are primary. So wrong. Embracing personal austerity, कि मैं नहीं खरीदूंगी दूसरी गाड़ी, मैं और नए कपड़े नहीं खरीदूंगी. Austerity, personal austerity and minimalist lifestyle is the most effective way to reduce global. No, the pressure should be from both the sides, top and bottom. It is only bottom. Wrong. You cannot call it most effective. So answer C है. Yeah. ठीक है, चलो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. हो रहा ना रिलेट? या टोन. टोन बताइए पैसेज का. एनालिटिकल, परसुएसिव, न्यूट्रल, ऑब्जर्वेशनल, नॉस्टैल्जिक एंड रिफ्लेक्टिव, सैटायरिकल एंड मॉकिंग. एक बात याद रखना, The tone should be visible across the passage, not in one paragraph, but across from the beginning to the end. आंसर्स बताइए. क्या है आंसर? ए. देखो, ऑल तो मैंने आपको एक पैराग्राफ सटायरिकल बताया था, बट क्या वो पूरे पैराग्राफ में मजाक बना रहे? इज ही मॉकिंग अक्रॉस द पैसेज, मेकिंग फन, critical? He is critical, but not in the sense of making fun of a social issue. He's explaining how these things are wrong and what you can do. Please go ahead, do this. Santa Claus के जैसे बनाओ, बताया था ना author ने last में. So it cannot be satirical and mocking. It is analytical and persuasive. He's analyzing what is wrong and he's asking you to work towards it. He's persuading the government to work towards it. Okay, so A. Inference. Easy. Which one of the following can be inferred? Easy है ये. You don't have to go back to the passage. I've explained the whole passage. अच्छा, एक चीज और. Some of you, I'll repeat this. I explained that in the last class as well. Some of you have been telling me, मैम पैराग्राफ के साथ क्वेश्चंस लेके आओ, आंसर करने में इजी होता है. Of course इजी होगा, बट एक बात बताओ मुझे, in the actual exam, will you go back to the passage every time for finding an answer? Should you go back to the passage every time for finding an answer? No. आप अपना टाइम कंजम्पशन इतना बढ़ा लोगे कि आप 2 passages भी नहीं कर पाओगे out of the 4. We cannot do that. The whole purpose of bringing the questions in the end is you get accustomed to this habit. We go back to the passage least number of times when we answer questions. We can go back to the passage when we have factual questions. If I do not remember the data. जैसे Sao Paulo में हुआ या Maine में हुआ या कहाँ हुआ, I don't remember the names. I can go back and recheck the names. But central idea, tone, ये तो आपको passage पढ़ने की immediately बात पता होना चाहिए. And if you did not get the tone and central idea or summary after you've read the passage, it is time for you to quit that passage. You cannot waste more time on that. तो एक बार पढ़ो, तमीज से पढ़ो, और by the end of the passage आपको पता होना चाहिए थीम क्या है, टोन क्या है. इन्फरेंस भी आप बहुत सारे बिना रेफर बैक करे निकाल सकते हैं. Remember, we cannot go back. I can always bring these passages, these questions with the paragraph, but it will not help you, my students, understand that. In the long run, you'll get accustomed to going back to the passage. We don't want to get into that habit, okay? Back to this. Vishal, you're absolutely correct. The correct answer is C. ऑथर ने एग्जाम्पल दिया था साओ पोलो और मेन में, जैसे उन्होंने बिलबोर्ड्स बैन कर दिए थे ना विजुअल पोल्यूशन रोकने के लिए. बट हाँ, और हम उनसे सीख सकते हैं, इज व्हाट वाज सेड. बट ही डिड नॉट से दैट इट हैज एक्चुअली significantly reduced global carbon emission. Global means across the world. It could have been helpful in visual pollution, but global carbon emission, no. Individuals cannot make any meaningful change to their carbon footprint unless government imposes strict penalties. The author says pressure should be from the bottom and the top both. This government imposing penalty is pressure from the top, but bottom से भी pressure आना चाहिए, वो है individuals का. So this is an extreme statement that says individuals बिल्कुल नहीं कर सकते जब तक government penalty नहीं लगाएगी. बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं, आप अपने decision change करके कर सकते हैं, अपनी psychology change करके कर सकते हैं. Psychological research proves that materialism is a genetic trait. Materialism is not genetic. It is taught to you by the society. इट इज नॉट, आपको जीन्स में नहीं मिला कि दादाजी मटेरियलिस्टिक थे तो हम भी, दादाजी नहीं थे मटेरियलिस्टिक, हम हैं मटेरियलिस्टिक. वी डिड नॉट गेट इट इन आवर जीन्स, वी गॉट इट फ्रॉम द सोसाइटी. ईच कैन इजीली बी ऑल्टर्ड बाय द 3 एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स जो हमने डिस्कस किया था. ओके, सो करेक्ट आंसर इज सी. अब इस क्वेश्चन का स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो, नहीं तो पॉज करके मैं जो वीडियो एंड करूंगी, just comment under my video with the correct answer. It's a critical reasoning based question. I'll explain the question to you. Answer आप खुद as a homework comment करेंगे under my video. Okay, let me explain the question. आपको author के argument को weaken करना है. What is the author's argument? Systematic infrastructure and cultural messaging are the primary obstacle to reducing carbon emission. To weaken this, आपको बोलना है no. Systematic infrastructure and cultural messaging are not the primary obstacles to reducing carbon emission. Which option out of the 4 says this, that these are not the primary obstacles to reducing carbon emission, will be your correct answer. Now use this technique and please comment under my video with the correct answers, not right now in the chat box, but as a comment. I'll respond to each one of you with if your answer is correct or not. And this, my students, brings us towards the end of our session. Before winding up, a quick reminder, today 4 p.m. on the app, a free special class for you. I'll be sharing the link of my Telegram channel there, and we'll be discussing the basics of how to approach a summary based question. Because वही आपका fundamental start करेगा of reading comprehension. Ensure that you catch me live at 4 p.m. Tomorrow I come live again at 6 p.m. with more question solving. Ensure that you attend that class as well. Have a very productive day. I'll be sharing questions on vocabulary that we have done today in the Telegram group. And hope you have a very fruitful day. Work really hard, solve passages. See me at 4. God bless you.